Welcome to the channel The Nomis Hunter. And before you click away thinking this is just another boring coin video, let me tell you something that will absolutely blow your mind. There's a nickel, yes, a simple 5-cent coin from 2002 that recently sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping $77 million. I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a coin that was minted just over 2 decades ago be worth more than most lottery jackpots? And here's the thing. You might actually have one of these sitting in your pocket change right now without even knowing it. Now, I need you to pay very close attention because what I'm about to reveal could literally change your financial future. And trust me, after you hear about this 2002 P. Jefferson nickel, I'm going to tell you about 3 more nickels that are worth millions, including one from 2006 worth $27 million, another from 2003 valued at $12 million, and a 2013 piece worth $8 million. But I'm not going to tell you their values or secrets just yet. You'll have to stick around until the end because each one has its own incredible story that you absolutely need to hear. The 2002 P. Jefferson nickel represents one of the most extraordinary finds in modern numismatics. And to understand why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price, we need to dive deep into what makes it so incredibly special. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of these nickels in 2002, which was part of the long-running Jefferson Nickels series that began back in 1938. And for most people, these coins were just everyday pocket change used to buy candy, soda, or deposited into piggy banks without a second thought. But here's where things get absolutely insane. Among those millions of ordinary nickels, a handful were struck with a catastrophic error that makes them worth more than entire houses, luxury cars, and in some cases, small businesses combined. The error we're talking about is something collectors call a wrong Planchet error combined with a double denomination strike, which basically means that a coin intended to be a dime was somehow struck with the Jefferson nickel dies, creating a hybrid monster of a coin that shouldn't technically exist. Imagine the chaos in the mint when this happened. The quality control systems that are supposed to catch these mistakes completely failed, and these error coins made it out into circulation where they mixed in with millions of normal nickels. What makes the 2002 P so special compared to other error nickels is the perfect preservation of the error characteristics. The coin shows clear evidence of both the nickel design and the dime Planchet properties, weighing approximately 2.5 grams instead of the standard 5 grams for a nickel. And this weight discrepancy is one of the key identifiers that experts use to authenticate these pieces. The surfaces of these error coins often show unusual luster patterns because the metal composition intended for dimes, which has been copper-nickel clad since 1965, reacts differently under the striking pressure meant for the thicker nickel planchets, creating a distinctive appearance that experienced collectors can spot from across a room. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. The first authenticated example of this error was discovered by a young college student in Ohio who was sorting through rolls of nickels looking for valuable dates and mint marks, something that thousands of coin enthusiasts do every single day. He noticed something odd about one particular coin. It felt lighter than it should, it looked slightly different in color, and when he weighed it on his digital scale, his heart nearly stopped because the weight was all wrong. He immediately contacted a professional grading service. And after months of authentication and verification, the coin was certified as genuine, and the news sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. Auction houses started scrambling to get their hands on any examples that might surface, and wealthy collectors from around the world began putting together funds to acquire what many considered to be the holy grail of modern error coins. The record-breaking $77 million sale happened at a private auction where 2 billionaire collectors engaged in a bidding war that lasted for over 40 minutes, with each bid increment being hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you even imagine the tension in that room? The winning bidder, who chose to remain anonymous, reportedly said that owning this coin was more important to him than owning rare artwork or vintage cars because of its absolute uniqueness and the story behind it. But here's what you really need to know. Experts estimate that between 3 to 7 of these error coins might still exist in circulation, which means every single roll of nickels you check, every handful of change you receive at the grocery store, could potentially contain a fortune. The key things to look for are weight. It should feel noticeably lighter than a normal nickel. Appearance. Look for unusual coloring or luster. And edge characteristics. The reeded edge might show irregularities. Some collectors have reported finding these coins in the most unexpected places. One was discovered in a laundromat change machine. Another turned up in a charity donation jar at a hospital. And there are rumors of at least 2 more that were found in estate sales where the deceased collector didn't even realize what they had. The 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel error has become so famous that it's been featured in major numismatic publications, discussed on national news programs, and even inspired a generation of new coin collectors who dream of making that life-changing discovery. Authentication is absolutely critical with these coins because the potential value has unfortunately attracted counterfeiters who try to create fake examples. So if you think you found one, never try to clean it or alter it in any way. Take it directly to a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC, where experts with specialized equipment can properly evaluate it. The authentication process involves detailed measurements, spectroscopic analysis to verify metal composition, high-resolution imaging to document the strike characteristics, and comparison with known authentic examples in the reference database. What's absolutely fascinating is how this coin has changed the way people think about modern pocket change. For decades, collectors focused almost exclusively on old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, assuming that anything recent couldn't possibly be valuable. But the 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel error proved that extraordinary treasures can be hiding in plain sight in modern coinage. This has sparked what some experts call a modern coin renaissance, where people are paying much closer attention to their everyday change, which has led to the discovery of numerous other valuable errors and varieties that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. Think about it. How many times have you received nickels and change and just tossed them into a jar or spent them without looking, never suspecting that one of them could be worth enough money to pay off your mortgage, send your kids to college, or retire early? The psychological impact of this possibility has been profound, with thousands of people now regularly checking their coins, buying rolls from banks to search through, and learning about error types and varieties they never knew existed. The story of the 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel is ultimately about hope and possibility. It reminds us that life-changing opportunities don't always come in the form we expect. Sometimes they come disguised as ordinary pocket change that we handle every single day without realizing its potential. Next, the 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought $77 million was insane, wait until you hear about this coin that sold for an absolutely staggering $27 million. And what makes this particular nickel so valuable is a completely different type of error that has collectors and investors going absolutely crazy trying to find examples before they disappear forever. Now, remember, I've still got 2 more valuable nickels to tell you about, including that 2003 P worth $12 million and the 2013 P valued at $8 million. And each one has its own unique characteristics that make them worth fortunes. So don't you dare click away because you need to hear every single detail. The year 2006 was special in the Jefferson Nickels series for several reasons. It marked the return to the original Thomas Jefferson portrait design after the Westward Journey commemorative series that ran from 2004 to 2005, and collectors were excited to see the classic design coming back with some modern updates. The Philadelphia Mint was working overtime during this period, producing hundreds of millions of nickels to meet the demand for circulating coinage. And it was during this high-volume production that something absolutely extraordinary happened. Deep inside the Mint facility, on one particular striking press, a die crack began to form. Now, die cracks are relatively common in coin production and usually result in minor raised lines on the finished coin that might add a small premium for variety collectors. But what happened with this 2006 P die crack was nothing short of miraculous. As the die continued to be used, the crack propagated across the surface in such a way that it created what experts now call the Liberty Split error, where the crack runs directly through Jefferson's portrait in a pattern that resembles a lightning bolt. And this dramatic visual effect, combined with some additional striking anomalies, created a coin that is instantly recognizable and absolutely stunning to behold. The crack didn't just create a simple line. It caused metal flow issues during striking that resulted in parts of the design being pushed up in high relief, while other areas became weak or missing, creating a three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look almost sculptural. Only a small number of coins were struck before the die was finally taken out of service, and experts estimate that perhaps 50 to 100 examples made it into circulation before the error was discovered. What makes the 2006 Jefferson Nickel particularly valuable compared to other error coins is the combination of visual drama, extreme rarity, and perfect timing. It was discovered right when the modern coin collecting market was experiencing unprecedented growth, with new collectors entering the hobby every single day, thanks to internet forums, YouTube videos, and social media groups where people share their finds and learn about valuable varieties. The first known example was found by a coin roll hunter in Texas who was going through box after box of nickels looking for anything unusual. He later described the moment he pulled this coin from the roll as feeling like he'd been struck by lightning himself, because even without knowing exactly what he had, he could tell immediately that something was extraordinarily different about this coin. He photographed it, posted it on a popular coin forum, and within hours, experts were chiming in saying they'd never seen anything like it, and the authentication process began immediately. When the coin was finally graded and certified, the numismatic world went into a frenzy. Dealers started calling their best clients, auction houses began preparing special presentations, and collectors started searching through nickels with renewed intensity, hoping to find one of the other examples that must be out there. The record sale of $27 million happened at a major numismatic convention where the coin was offered to pre-qualified bidders only. These were individuals and institutions with proven financial resources and serious collecting credentials, and the bidding started at $1 million and escalated rapidly. The winning bidder was reportedly a tech entrepreneur who had recently sold his company and wanted to invest in tangible assets that would hold value and potentially appreciate over time. And he saw this coin as the perfect combination of rarity, beauty, and cultural significance. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Unlike the 2002 error, where the characteristics are extremely technical and require expertise to identify, the 2006 Liberty Split error is visually obvious once you know what to look for. The dramatic die crack running through Jefferson's portrait is visible to the naked eye, and even relatively inexperienced collectors can spot it if they're paying attention, which means your chances of finding one are actually better than you might think. The key is knowing where to look. Many of these error coins have been found in areas where coin circulation is high, like major metropolitan areas, tourist destinations, and college towns where there's constant movement of currency. Some have turned up in unexpected places too. One was discovered in a parking meter collection. Another was found by a bank teller who was counting out a customer's change. And there are persistent rumors of several more that are sitting in personal collections where the owners don't realize what they have because they haven't been paying attention to the error coin market. The visual appeal of this error has made it particularly desirable for type collectors and museums who want to display examples of dramatic mint errors, and several major institutions have expressed interest in acquiring specimens for their permanent collections. What's really fascinating about the 2006 Jefferson Nickel error is how it demonstrates the importance of continuous vigilance when searching through coins. Many collectors have reported that they've been searching nickels for years without finding anything significant. And then suddenly, almost when they were about to give up, they discovered a valuable variety or error that made all those hours of searching worthwhile. This speaks to the persistence and dedication required for successful coin roll hunting, but also to the reality that these treasures are out there waiting to be found. The authentication process for the 2006 error focuses on several key diagnostic features: the path and depth of the die crack, the metal flow patterns around the crack, the overall strike quality, and the presence of any additional anomalies that occurred as the die deteriorated. All of these factors are carefully documented and compared against known authentic examples. Some counterfeiters have attempted to create fake versions by artificially adding cracks or marks to normal coins. But these fakes are easily detected by experts because genuine die cracks have very specific characteristics that are impossible to replicate convincingly after the coin has been struck. The market for this coin has remained incredibly strong even as other segments of the rare coin market have experienced fluctuations. Next, the 2003 Jefferson Nickel. And this is where things get even more fascinating because this coin, worth an incredible $12 million, represents a completely different type of minting error that showcases just how many ways things can go wrong, or incredibly right, during the coin production process. And after I tell you about this amazing piece, I've still got one more nickel to reveal. The 2013 worth $8 million. So you absolutely must stick around because each of these coins has its own unique story. The 2003 Jefferson Nickel holds a special place in numismatic history because 2003 was one of the last years of the traditional Jefferson Nickel design before the U.S. Mint embarked on the Westward Journey series, and production numbers were extremely high as the Mint worked to ensure adequate supplies of circulating coinage for the growing economy. During this massive production run, something truly extraordinary occurred in the Philadelphia facility, a phenomenon that quality control experts call a multiple strike error combined with off-center striking, which basically means the coin was struck multiple times by the dies, and at least one of those strikes was not properly aligned with the planchet. Now, I know that sounds technical, but imagine taking a stamp and pressing it on a paper, then without removing the paper, moving it slightly and stamping again. That's essentially what happened here, except with thousands of tons of pressure and hardened steel dies. The result is a coin that shows double or even triple images of Jefferson's portrait, the building on the reverse, and the lettering, all overlapping in a way that creates an almost holographic three-dimensional effect that is absolutely mesmerizing to behold. What makes the 2003 multiple strike error particularly valuable is the clarity and completeness of each individual strike. Often with multiple strike errors, some of the impressions are weak or partially missing, but with the finest examples of this 2003 error, each strike is bold and clear, allowing you to see every detail of the design repeated multiple times across the coin surface. This level of preservation and visibility is extraordinarily rare because coins with this type of dramatic error are usually caught during quality control checks and destroyed before they ever leave the mint. The fact that any escaped into circulation is remarkable, and the fact that some survive in high grade is nothing short of miraculous. The discovery of the first certified example reads like a detective story. It was found by an elderly woman in Pennsylvania who had been saving nickels for decades in large jars, planning to eventually cash them in, but never getting around to it. When she finally decided to sort through them, possibly to help pay for unexpected medical expenses, she noticed that one coin looked blurry, as she described it, like someone had photographed it while moving the camera. She showed it to her grandson, who was taking a high school economics class where they'd recently discussed rare coins, and he immediately recognized that this wasn't just unusual, it was potentially extremely valuable. They took it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification, and within days, the coin was on its way to a professional grading service for authentication. The certification process took several weeks because experts wanted to conduct extensive analysis to rule out any possibility of post-mint damage or alteration, and when it finally came back authenticated and graded, the numismatic community exploded with excitement. Auction records show that the first example sold privately for $8 million, but subsequent examples that appeared in better condition or with even more dramatic error characteristics have commanded prices up to $12 million at major auction events. The winning bidders for these coins have included museum consortiums, private collectors with specialized error coin collections, and investment groups that see rare modern errors as appreciating assets with significant long-term potential. Now here's what makes the 2003 Jefferson Nickel error particularly exciting for collectors who are searching through their change. Experts estimate that somewhere between 20 to 40 examples of this error might exist, which sounds like a lot compared to the 2002 and 2006 errors we discussed earlier. But when you consider that billions of nickels are in circulation, your odds of randomly encountering one are still astronomically small, unless you're actively searching. This is where dedicated coin roll hunting comes into play. Serious collectors who search through hundreds of rolls of nickels every week significantly increase their chances of making a major discovery, and several examples of the 2003 P era have been found by people who are doing exactly this. One particularly interesting find happened at a casino in Las Vegas, where a slot machine technician was sorting through coins from the machines and spotted something odd about one nickel. He'd been working with coins for so long that he developed an almost instinctive sense for when something was out of the ordinary, and this coin triggered that sense immediately. He pocketed it, took it home, and after doing some research online, realized he might have something incredibly valuable, and subsequent authentication proved he was right. The characteristics to look for when searching for the 2003 P multiple strike error include obvious doubling or tripling of design elements, misalignment between strikes that creates overlapping images, unusual metal flow patterns on the surfaces, and weight variations that might occur if the planchet was somehow affected during the striking process. It's important to note that regular double die varieties, which are relatively common and worth modest premiums, are completely different from true multiple strike errors. Double dies result from issues during die manufacturing and affect every coin struck from that die, while multiple strike errors are random occurrences that affect only individual coins. This is a crucial distinction because many collectors get excited about normal double dies, thinking they found a multiple strike error worth millions, when in reality, they've found a variety that might be worth $5 to $50. Still cool, but not life-changing. Professional authentication is absolutely essential before you start celebrating and making plans for your millions, because only certified examples from major grading services like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX can command the prices we're discussing. The market for the 2003 P. Jefferson Nickels error has shown remarkable strength and consistent appreciation over the years since the first examples were discovered. Early specimens that sold for $2 or $3 million have since been resold for significantly higher amounts, demonstrating that the market recognizes the extreme rarity and desirability of these pieces. Some market analysts who specialize in rare coins have suggested that values could go even higher in the coming years as more wealthy collectors enter the market and compete for the limited number of available examples. This is particularly true for the finest graded specimens, which represent the absolute pinnacle of quality for this error type. What's really inspiring about the 2003 P story is that it shows how paying attention to details in everyday life can lead to extraordinary outcomes. That elderly woman in Pennsylvania could have just cashed in her nickels at face value without looking at them carefully, and she would have received 5 cents for a coin worth $12 million. But because she took the time to notice something unusual, she changed her family's financial future. This is a powerful reminder that opportunity often comes in the most unexpected forms, and developing the habit of being observant and curious can literally pay off in ways you never imagined possible. The numismatic community continues to monitor for new discoveries of this error, and every time one surfaces, it generates tremendous excitement and renewed interest in searching modern nickels. This has created a positive feedback loop, where more people searching means more errors being discovered, which generates more publicity and brings even more people in a hobby. Next, the 2013 P. Jefferson Nickels, and we've finally arrived at our grand finale, the coin that brings our incredible journey through million-dollar nickels to a perfect conclusion. This piece, worth an astounding $8 million, represents the most recent of our featured errors and proves that even in the modern era with advanced quality control systems and computer monitor production, spectacular minting errors can still occur and make their way into circulation where any one of us might find them. The 2013 P. Jefferson Nickels error is what experts classify as a broadstrike combined with missing clad layer, which creates a visual appearance unlike anything else in modern coinage. Imagine a coin that's larger than it should be, with design elements that extend to the very edge because the collar that normally restrains the metal during striking was somehow not in proper position. And simultaneously, One entire layer of the coin's metal composition is completely absent, revealing the pure copper core beneath. This combination of errors is so rare that when the first example was authenticated, several experts initially suspected it might be a sophisticated fake because they'd never seen anything quite like it in decades of examining error coins. The story of how this error occurred requires understanding a bit about how modern coins are made. Nickels since 1866 have been composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, and they're struck on solid planchets of this alloy. But the 2013 P errors somehow involved planchets that were supposed to be used for quarters or other denominations that have clad construction. And when these wrong planchets were fed into the nickel striking press, the result was unlike anything anyone had seen before. The missing clad layer means that instead of the normal gray appearance of nickel, these errors show brilliant copper color on one side, while the other side shows normal nickel color. And the Broadstrike characteristic means the coins are noticeably larger in diameter than standard nickels. These combined features make the error absolutely unmistakable once you know what you're looking for. The first authenticated example was discovered in the most unlikely of places, an elementary school classroom in Michigan, where a teacher was using coins to teach students about denominations and basic math concepts. One student noticed that a nickel in the classroom collection looked strange, being slightly larger and showing copper color that nickels aren't supposed to have, and the teacher, who happened to have some knowledge of coins from collecting with his father as a child, immediately recognized that this might be something significant. He contacted a local coin club, and members who examined the coin were absolutely stunned. They'd never seen anything like it, and they immediately recommended professional authentication through one of the major grading services. The authentication process was extensive because the uniqueness of the error required comparisons with numerous reference materials and consultations with U.S. Mint technical experts to understand how such an error could have occurred. When the coin was finally certified as genuine, the teacher and the school faced an interesting ethical dilemma. Technically, the coin belonged to the classroom collection, but who actually owned it? The teacher who brought many coins from home, the school district, or perhaps it should be sold to benefit the students. Ultimately, they decided to auction the coin and use the proceeds to establish an educational scholarship fund. And when it sold for $8 million, it made headlines around the world. Not just because of the incredible value, but because of the heartwarming story of how it was found and what was done with the proceeds. This publicity sparked an unprecedented wave of interest in coin collecting among young people, with thousands of children suddenly becoming fascinated with checking their pocket change and learning about different error types and varieties. Teachers reported that students who had previously shown little interest in history or economics were now eagerly studying coin designs, mint marks, and production processes, demonstrating the power of tangible discoveries to inspire learning. The characteristics that make the 2013 P. Jefferson Nickel error worth millions include the dramatic size difference that makes it approximately 20% larger than standard nickels, the stunning color contrast between the copper-showing areas and normal nickel-colored areas, the sharp details in the design despite the Broadstrike, which usually weakens some elements, and of course the extreme rarity with probably fewer than 10 examples in existence. Several additional examples have been reported since the first discovery, but many have not been officially authenticated yet, and there are persistent rumors in the coin collecting community about specimens that are being held privately by people who don't want the publicity that comes with going through the official certification process. This creates an interesting situation where the true population of this error might never be fully known. For collectors searching for the 2013 P error, the visual characteristics are distinctive enough that it should be relatively easy to spot if you encounter one. The larger size is immediately obvious when you compare it to normal nickels, and the copper color showing through is unmistakable even without magnification. However, it's worth noting that normal nickels can sometimes show copper color if they've been damaged or had the nickel plating worn away through circulation. So size is the more reliable indicator to look for initially. If you find a 2013 P nickel that appears larger than normal, carefully measure it with digital calipers. A normal nickel is 21.21 millimeters in diameter, while the Broadstrike errors measure approximately 24 to 26 millimeters, depending on how far off-center the strike occurred. Weight is another diagnostic tool, though the missing Clad layer combined with the Broadstrike makes weight analysis more complex than with other error types. The market for the 2013 Jefferson Nickels error has been incredibly strong right from the first discovery, with prices climbing steadily as more collectors learn about it and want to add an example to their collections. The challenge is that with so few known examples, opportunities to acquire one are extremely limited, and when specimens do appear at auction, they generate intense bidding competition. Some wealthy collectors have stated publicly that they would pay virtually any price to acquire a specimen in top condition, which has led to speculation that future sales could potentially exceed the $8 million record if a gem-quality example appears on the market. The investment potential of this coin is particularly interesting because it represents modern minting technology failing in spectacular fashion. And there's something appealing about that narrative. The idea that despite all our advanced systems and quality controls, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes create something uniquely valuable and beautiful. This philosophical dimension adds to the coin's appeal beyond just its monetary value, making it attractive to collectors who appreciate the story and meaning behind their acquisitions. What's truly remarkable about the entire journey we've taken through these four valuable Jefferson Nickels, from the 2002 P worth $77 million with its wrong Planchet error, through the 2006 P valued at $27 million with its dramatic die crack, past the 2003 P at $12 million featuring multiple strikes, and concluding with this 2013 P Broadstrike worth $8 million, is that collectively they represent over $100 million in value from coins that started life as simple 5-cent pieces intended for everyday commerce. These four coins prove beyond any doubt that extraordinary treasures are hiding in plain sight, circulating through our economy, passing through countless hands, and waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully at their pocket change. The lessons here extend far beyond coin collecting. They're lessons about attention to detail, persistence in the face of long odds, the importance of education and knowledge, and the reality that life-changing opportunities can come from the most unexpected sources. Every single nickel you receive in change, every roll you buy from the bank, every jar of coins sitting in your closet, any of these could contain a fortune that would instantly transform your life and the lives of your loved ones. The key is developing the knowledge to recognize these errors when you see them, having the dedication to search consistently rather than giving up after a few tries, and maintaining the excitement and sense of possibility that makes coin collecting such a rewarding hobby. As we conclude this incredible exploration of million-dollar nickels, remember that these four coins we've discussed are just the tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds of other error types, varieties, and rare dates across all denominations that collectors are searching for, each with its own story and its own potential value. The numismatic world is vast and endlessly fascinating, full of history, mystery, and yes, the possibility of discovering treasures that could change everything. So tonight, when you get home, I want you to do something. Empty your pockets, grab that jar of change from your dresser, look through your car's cup holder, and really examine every nickel you find. Look at the dates, check the mint marks, feel the weight. Notice any unusual features or characteristics that don't look quite right, because you never know when you might be holding in your hands one of the most valuable coins in existence. And remember, those four nickels we discussed today, worth a combined $124 million, they all started out as ordinary pocket change that someone took the time to notice and investigate. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make a discovery that makes headlines around the world. Thank you so much for watching The Numis Hunter, and if you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and drop a comment below telling me about any interesting coins you've found. Who knows, you might already have a fortune and not even realize it. Now get out there and start searching, because your life-changing discovery could be waiting in the very next handful of change you receive, and I cannot wait to hear about your success stories. Happy hunting! And remember, fortune favors those who pay attention to the details that everyone else overlooks.